Test, test, mic, check. Mic check, mic check. Test, test, test. Mic check, mic check. Okay. Video capture device. Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Audio capture 3. Alright, we might have to stop the music for this live. I do apologize if you guys are watching this post upload. I'm just trying to figure out all of this right now. I should have done this last night, but we changed our whole setup, as you guys can see. So I'm trying to readjust. So just bear with me this morning. I'm trying to get my audio fixed ASAP. Let's see. This is plugged in. Alright. We gotta get this mic to work right here. This is gonna take me a few minutes. So this is video capture device. Okay, so that's the camera audio. This should be the first one. Test, test, test. Audio check, audio check. That's not it. Video capture. Remove. Test, test, test. All right, here we go. All right, mic check, mic check. Test, test, test. All right, here we go. All right, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Test, test, test. All right, here we go. All right, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Test, test, test. All right, let's play the music now. All right, so for this live, I'm not gonna play any music. I'm not sure if it's gonna interfere, um, but this will be the first live for future trading. If my audio is too loud, please let me know. This is just a test run. I'm not surprised that there is only 0 people in here. This is the start of a new beginning. But we're gonna get started in the next 9 minutes. I'm seeing some potential entries on gold as we speak, but we're gonna get into all that in a second. If you guys are watching this post stream, welcome to the channel. I'm gonna be doing this consistently throughout the whole quarter of October, November, and December from 6 a.m. to 8:30, and then I'm thinking about doing something on TikTok from like 9:30 to 11 because I have a whole bunch of free time. But I almost took a whole year off just to learn futures. And that whole transition from Forex to futures was worth it. And, not to say that my 4 years of day trading was wasted, but futures is something that I guarantee people look into if they're trying to transition to a safer path of day trading, just because there are just so many benefits. And when we talk about Forex, there were so many things wrong that no one really talked about. For instance, manipulation with brokers, and it just wasn't the safest route for those that have a low amount of capital that are trying to invest funds to grow. And with futures, I started trading last week in live markets, and as you guys can see, my account is connected on TradingView now. With futures, it's much more transparent, and there's no hidden fees. Whereas with Forex, with certain brokers, you would enter in a trade and you would already be like 5, 10 pips in drawdown, depending on your broker, right? And when it comes to brokers, most of them were unregulated, meaning your money wasn't safe. Anytime, money was randomly taken out from your account, there's no way that you can't sue your broker, but because it's unregulated, it's not regulated in the U.S. So when you bring it up to court, or you try to, file that somewhere, they're gonna look at you crazy because you trusted a unregulated broker. So that's just one of the reasons why. And there's another reason that I can't think of right now. Let's see if I have it written down here. Regulation, centralized exchange, no conflict of interest, perfect for trading indices, right? Easy to measure risk to reward, it's a level playing field, and honestly, it's just more professional, right? I think when it comes to day trading, most of us keep it low key from our friends and family, because that whole conception of trading, of a day trader, is like, oh, you're gambling, right? Oh, you must be a scammer, you must be a fraud. And I think the term Forex itself is overly saturated with marketers and people that are just trying to get commissions, people that don't actually trade, where that term itself is just shady. You hear Forex, like, oh, you're a Forex trader, right? Futures trader, it's like, oh, shoot, what do you do, right? And that's just one of the petty reasons, I guess. It's just Forex itself, it's not professional. If you want to take this serious, I highly advise you look into futures, because it's much more safe. But this is gonna be a pretty short live. I think I'm gonna go to 7:30. Might be on for an hour. This is just my transition back, introduction, and we're gonna talk about news. So one of the main things I was confused about, or I was worried about, when transitioning from Forex to futures is understanding my fundamental analysis. Because with Forex, of course, we had Forex Factory, right? We had our economic calendar where we had our pairs to analyze either on USD, CAD, AUD, NZD, and all we would do is look at these folders, right? We have our yellow folders, we have our orange folders, and we have our red folders of high impact, and then we have our gray folders when we have holidays. So how we would analyze this, for example, it is Tuesday, October 8th, and the only high impact news is happening at around 9 p.m. on NZD pairs. We would click on this folder, get an update on the official cash rate. We would look at the Why Traders Care to get a short understanding of what this news event is about. Short-term interest rates are a paramount factor in currency valuation. Traders look at most of their indicators merely to predict how rates will change in the future. So you get all this information for Forex trading, right? Or your currency pairs. So my main concern was how do I relate this information to futures trading? How is this going to correlate with day trading when I'm looking at the futures market? Well, we don't actually look at forexfactory.com. I have a few websites that I want to go over that are beneficial when you're analyzing commodities, indices, or any type of futures instrument. Before that, I want to go ahead and talk about it. So trading news for futures. Futures contracts are influenced by a variety of news and events, primarily those related to economic indicators, geopolitical developments, financial markets, and industry-specific news. And then I have some key factors that I want to go over real quick that can affect futures markets. So number one, you have economic data releases, interest rates, announcements from central banks like the Federal Reserve about interest rate changes can impact the markets. You have inflation data. Reports like the Consumer Price Index, CPI, or Producer Price Index, PPI, can also affect the market. So just like Forex, when we have these huge news events, CPI, NFP, all of these events that usually, correlate the high impact news are still relevant for futures trading, which is good. Last week we had NFP, and I caught a nice trade on gold that I posted on Instagram that you guys can check out, but that's besides the point. GDP reports, data on currency economic growth or contraction. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go Forex Factory real quick and exit out of this. So just like on Forex Factory, when we have our high impact news, it's usually highlighted with a red folder, and the websites that I want to go over today for futures trading is FX Street, financialjuice.com, and of course we have our CME group, which is probably the most helpful. And let's go ahead and talk about those websites in a second, but I want to go over these few other points. All right, so number two, you have your geopolitical events, political instability, elections, or political unrest in key countries, trade wars and tariffs, changes in international trade policies or disputes between major economies. So a random geopolitical event, when we're talking about the election coming up, we're going to see a whole bunch of reports November 7th. But one example I can think of at the top of my head, when Donald Trump got shot, right? Was missed by a couple centimeters, hit his ear. There's a lot of market data happening on a certain pair that I can't think of the name of, but that's just one example of how, real-time events can affect the market depending on what importance or what relevance it has to that contract, okay? Number three, natural disasters and weather events. Severe weather can affect commodity futures like oil, natural gas, and agriculture products. So this one wasn't as important for Forex trading because we're dealing with currency pairs. But when you're making that transition from Forex to futures, you're going to be trading commodities. You might not,
but futures like oil, natural gas can be affected depending on what type of weather event is happening. Okay. Number 4, we have industry specific news, energy sector, oil and gas inventory reports, OPEC meetings, and shifts in energy production. So just like number 1, you have these huge announcements or you have these huge events going on in the market. Same thing with Forex trading, high impact news, high impact volatility, and you can try to manage your positions accordingly. You have the agriculture sector, crop reports, planting forecasts, and changes in agriculture technology or policies, technology and manufacturing, announcements about advancements, supply chain issues, or shortages. Okay. Number 5, we have global financial markets, stock market performance, correlation between future markets and stock indices like the S&P 500 or Dow Jones. This is pretty important as these are probably the most popular pairs with with futures trading. You have your NASDAQ, you have gold, and you have S&P 500. Those are like the big 3. And then you have US 30, of course, just like Forex trading. You have the stock market performance. So data releases on the performance of that futures contract is somewhat relevant on how that pair is going to perform for the day or trading period, just like Forex trading. Currency fluctuation, exchange rates can impact futures tied to commodities trade globally, bond market movements, changes in yields that affect the overall market sentiment. Okay. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more points I want to go over. But if you guys have any questions, let me know if you're watching this post stream. But I want to make sure you guys have a clear understanding on how news correlates to futures trading as we had an understanding with Forex or Forex trading. Same concept, it's just a little different websites we're going to look at so that when the time comes, you know how to connect your fundamental and technical analysis to find really good entries. I do apologize if my mic is loud. This is my first time back with the new setup that you guys see. So if anything is off, whether if it's quality, audio, just let me know. All right, at number 6, we have our corporate earnings reports. Earnings announcements from major companies can impact stock index futures. Guidance and forecasts from corporations influence investor expectations about future market trends. So a major company, Dow Jones, right? One example I can think of off the top of my head, when we were using CNBC for Forex trading or for US 30 specifically, we would go to the site. Let me see if I can pull it up. CNBC. All right, let's see if I can find it again. So we would go to the site, we would go to markets, we would go to US markets, and we would look for US 30. Here we go. Dow Jones. All right, perfect. So here is a example of, let's see if we refresh this. Was it the change or price? Okay. Here's a good example of a popular indice that has a whole bunch of companies that make up that pair, right? So US 30, you have Microsoft, you have Amazon, you have Apple, you have McDonald's Corp, Walt Disney. So whenever there's a change of interest, right, or there's a change in that price value, it's going to determine that rate of that pair or the prediction. So with futures, whatever indice you're trading, whether if it's NAS, S&P 500, whatever micro corporations make up or involve with that pair, you kind of want to have an eye on just in case there's news on that company like Apple, something bad happens or a new product releases, that might change the fluctuation of that price or of that pair, excuse me. So that's not too different. When we're thinking about US 30, how we would still trade that sometimes with Forex trading, you're simply just paying attention to those major companies that can impact that stock index future. Okay. Number 7, we have central bank policies, decisions and statements from central banks like the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, or Bank of Japan. Signals about quantitative easing, monetary tightening, or liquidity measures. So for this one, same thing with Forex trading. You have certain releases from the Federal Reserve that play a huge role in the market. They want to pay attention to that also correlate the futures. Okay. Number 8, commodity supply and demand factors. Changes in supply and demand dynamics for commodities like crude oil, gold, and agriculture products. So one website I was using for this when I was analyzing the supply and demand for certain currencies, what the rates are looking like, was FX Street. This was a really good website that I want to go over after I'm done reading all this, because it gave you information specifically on gold, on what that was looking like, right? When we're talking about supply and demand factors. Reports on supply chain disruptions, product cuts, or new sources of supply, right? Number 9, we have market sentiment and speculation. Traders' perceptions, market rumors, and speculative activity. So for this, I was actually using investing.com. We're looking at the sentiment, and this is basically the overall perspective that most investors have for the time being. So on gold, there was a certain method I was using where I would analyze the price I would analyze the pair for my technical analysis, and I would have it ready to go, but I would also look at the overall perspective of what most investors are predicting. So on investing.com, I would scroll down, right, look at the sentiment, and I would compare the selling pressure to the buying pressure. If there's more selling pressure, then I would go with the bias that price is going to sell. If there is a lot of buying pressure, I would go with the bias that price is more likely going to buy. Because when we're trading NFP, or for that method specifically, when I was trading NFP, which I no longer do anymore, and I'll explain why. But at the time being, when I was trading NFP, you have a huge spike in the market after that 830 candle. So whether you have a type stop loss or not, sometimes your stop loss would get hit, you get wicked out, and then price would go in the correct direction. So for this method, I would look at the sentiment and I would try to predict where that impulsive push would happen, to the upside or downside. But I stopped trading that just because it wasn't realistic. Trying to catch impulsive moves of an 831 candle right when we have a news event, especially NFP carrying a lot of volatility, it's not going to allow you to grow your account in the long run. That's all I'm going to say, because that manipulation, that wick, it can go either way. And I have all those live streams in the live tab if you guys want to check it out, of how that looks like after getting that 830 push. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. My whole point with number 9 is that traders' perceptions, when we're talking about the sentiment of price, can influence where the market is going to push, because investors, retail traders even, are looking at the same thing as everyone else. Okay. So number 10, we have and then we have a point right here. Sorry, I didn't read this. Shifts in sentiment driven by news, headlines, or major market events. Okay. So number 10, we have technological and regulatory changes, new regulations that impact specific industries or the broader economy, technological advancements that alter production processes or supply chains. Okay. And then I have this as a conclusion. Monitoring these types of news and data releases can help you understand and anticipate potential movements in futures contracts. So there's not a huge difference when we're talking about the shift from Forex to futures. In my opinion, it's much more simple, and I'll show you guys why when we talk about the websites, because you have a filter. Instead of looking at, AUD, NZD, Euro, you're looking at all these countries, you're only really focusing on USD. Okay. So I'm probably going to make a video about this. I have 2 videos that I'm editing right now. The first video is basically introducing my transition from Forex to futures, the why, the what, of that change, what to expect on the channel, stuff like that. And in the second video, I'm going to get straight into it. We're going to talk about fundamental analysis. So I will talk about this in a separate video because I know this might have been somewhat confusing to a beginner maybe watching this, or someone that's not really understanding how news correlates to trading. So I'm going to make a separate video sometime. What's today? Tuesday? I'm going to try to make a video this week and post it this weekend. What's today? Tuesday? Okay, trying to make sure my audio is good. So, the websites that you guys should bookmark and keep in your pocket are the ones I have right here. First things first, we have FX Street, or we're going to go ahead and compare these three, and I want you guys to make your own decision. I'm not going to tell you to bookmark these websites. I want you to find these websites and correlate it to your schedule and see which one is visually appealing to you, because they all work pretty similar. So we have FX Street, we have Financial Juice, and we have the CMEgroup.com. So when it comes to economic calendar, all three pretty much use the same system. You have your time, you have your pair, and then you have the impact, right? We go on Financial Juice, you have the time, you have the pair, and then you have the impact. You have the time, you have the pair, and then you have the impact. So on the first one, let's go in order. So let's do, okay, we'll talk about FX Street first. So I'm not really a huge fan of FX Street specifically because you don't, oh, here we go. You actually can filter it. So you can filter out all of these pairs, uncheck all of them, and just have USD. Apply filter, and it will only give you the news relevant to the futures contracts. And I believe this is the time as well. Tuesday, October 8th. All right. So yeah, this is pretty simple. Visually, you have the time, you have the pair. For example, 8:30, we have goods trade balance, and then you have the impact. This is like 25%, so it's not huge, but it gives you that information. And then if you click on it, it gives you more information. The goods trade balance releases by the US BEA and the USCB is the difference in value between imported and exported goods during a certain month. The figure will be released monthly between 4 to 7 days before the international trade balance, presenting advanced statistics for the reference month. Given that it started in July 2015, volatility could be erratic during the first releases, although should be understood that higher exports and less imports are dollar positive, while the other way around should produce a negative effect on the USD. Excuse me, I cannot read. And then we have more events happening today. So it's pretty simple in my opinion. Let's go ahead and talk about the other websites real quick. The next one is Financial Juice. So this is a new website that I checked out last night, and I don't have a huge issue with it. You can also filter it out if you go to the button that I just clicked on and unchecked all these countries except for United States. It also gives you that information. So at 8:30, we have the US trade balance. Now this one is a little confusing to me because when it comes to the value of impact of what that news event is going to hold, it doesn't do a good job telling us that. So I'm pretty sure the blue is live events happening. So Fed's Kugler Speaks, that's literally happening in live time, where you can check that out on YouTube or whatever news site. The yellow folder, I believe, is just like FX Street. It's low impact, not as important. The orange folder, a little volatility, and then of course the red is high impact news. But my only issue with this is that this is showing red, right? But then on FX Street, this is less than 50%. Looking at the impact right here, it shows us that it's low impact news. So my only question is, why is this red and the other one is yellow? And it's specifically with this website, I know that this one's in the wrong, because if we go ahead and compare all of that to the CME group, when we look at 8:30, which is, let's see, this is Central Time, so it'd be right here. This is also low impact news. You guys see that? Where it says 10 a.m. Central Time. U.S. Treasury buyback announcements. I believe this is the same one, right? Trade balance. Is that the same one? Today is October 8th. U.S. trade balance. So this isn't it right here. Let's see. So 8:30. Good trades balance. Red Book Index. Do we even have that on the CME? Okay, so this is now my least favorite website. Only for the economic calendar. This is a really good website. I'm gonna explain why in a second when we're talking about futures contracts. But for the economic calendar, I'm probably just gonna stick with FX Street, just because it's visually clear. I know what's going on. We also have our impact. We have the information we need, and this would probably be second. And this is pretty good for live events. So, for example, later today we also have Fed's Colin. He speaks at around 6 o'clock today. I'm sorry, this is 4 o'clock. So this is pretty good for live events, but other than that, I'm probably just gonna stick to fxstreet.com. Damn, and I missed this move. Oh my god. It's all good. It's all good. I was so focused on talking. So another major difference that I've noticed from Forex to futures is time frames. When we were dealing with Forex, most of our entries took place on the 1 hour, on the 30-minute, and sometimes the 4 hour time frame. With futures, you're pretty much scalping. And I was against scalping for a long time until I realized it was much more safer. And I'll explain why in a second. Especially with future trading, because the size, or I guess the tick value, is a lot different from like pips and lot sizes. You can catch pretty good moves on lower time frames depending on where your entry is at and depending on how you're playing the market. So for example, this specific push I could have caught in less than 2 minutes. This was on the 5-minute time frame. This literally happened in the last 2 minutes as I was talking. So unfortunately I did miss this move, but it would have been super simple, right? We're simply trading ranges, waiting for that break and retest. We would have caught this nice move after we had a nice opening above this level. And this would have been a nice 30 tick move. Would have had our stops below, so ideally it would have looked something like this. Would have had a long position, probably would have targeted this low right here for 40 ticks, and we could have made it a nice 1 to 2 like this. Stops below this low right here. But it all depends on your contract size or how many contracts you're placing on that symbol. So yeah, same type of concept of Forex trading. When you have all of your smart money concepts, you have all the information and technical analysis, it's still implemented into the futures market. The only difference is the time frames and how you execute. Damn, I'm kind of bummed out that I missed this move, but it's all good. This live will be educational purposes only. If you're watching this post stream, hopefully this video is helpful. But this will be the only stream where I'm talking, yapping, I guess, about all this information. Next couple of streams, we're just gonna get to it and catch some live setups. But I will be doing this from 6 o'clock 6 a.m. to 8:30, so that's an hour and a half. Might extend to 9, and then what I want to do is go live on TikTok from like 9:30 to 11. So that's my goal, and we're just gonna be building. Everything's gonna be free. Everything should be free at the moment. If it's not, someone just let me know on Instagram. Um, the Discord should be free as well. But damn, this is a nice move. The more I look at this, the more disappointed I am, because I already had this whole buy set up. I was saying that, hey, price is moving up. Or let's go ahead and recap this real quick. So on the 2 hour, same thing with top-down analysis on Forex trading, simply just implementing that to gold. Notice how price is tapping our overall low right here. We have a touch right here. We have a touch right here. And we have a touch right here. So price is respecting this overall low, or our 2 hour support. Okay, you don't just want to trade support and resistance alone. That's not a good idea, but you want to use it as a confluence. So we have a clear market gap that price reacted off, right? We have a touch right there, and we have a touch right here. Now, with that information alone, we know that price is pushing up. So we're going to scale it on the 1 hour, 30-minute, and try to identify some sort of structure. So why is price rejecting off of these levels while trying to come back to our overall low? Well, if we come to this area right here, notice how we have a nice push in the market where price creates some sort of imbalance where we can identify some sort of demand zone. So we stretch this zone out. We can push it up here from wick to wick and extend our zone out. And what do we see? Price makes a touch right here, or return to interest at around that 50%, pushes up, and we have another return of interest where price does push out, does take out some previous buyers, might experience some sort of fake out, but then overall it pushes back up. So we have two touches confirming that this is a solid zone of interest, and then we have another touch right here which we capitalized on for a push back into this range. And what does price do? Fluctuates back into this demand zone. And look at that, TP would have been smacked. And again, this was only in what? This was like in 15 minutes. So you're getting much quicker results with futures because price hits our TP and we're out. And this would have been a good 30 tick move. And it doesn't look like a lot because this says 3, and ideally that is 3 points. But it all depends on your contract size. If you place 4 contracts, 5 contracts, 6 contracts, 2 contracts, whatever contract size you implement into your trade depends on the value or your profit, your end result profit. So like yesterday, I caught a nice move on gold. I placed 2 contracts, and that would have been a much different return if I used 1. So what was I saying? Okay, so we noticed that price is fluctuating, right? And what do we have right here? Price pushes down. We experience a fake out because price doesn't quite close below that zone, pushes back up. Price makes another breakout. We have a small break and retest right here. If we go in the 5-minute, we can clearly see that price did break and had a retracement right here, at which price rejected off of, back down to our overall support on the 2-hour time frame. So we make another touch where people are hopping in for buys, capitalizing on that point of interest, and then we come back into that zone, and now we're pushing up, and now I'm simply waiting for a break and retest outside of this range, targeting this high. So what does price do? Fluctuates a little bit. We finally get that break, and then we simply enter on that retracement, targeting that high. So I would have had a nice take profit. Well, I used a 1-to-1, but if I wanted to, My take profit would have been around 50 ticks, keeping my stop loss pretty close to this low right here. So this would have been a nice 1 to 2. And this all would have happened in like 10, 15 minutes. Again, if you guys are watching this post stream, hopefully that makes sense. We're going to move on. And in 5 minutes, we're going to try to find some potential setups. Dang, that would have been such a good move. Look at that. Let me take a picture of this. I just realized I wasn't recording this whole time. Oh my gosh. Um, the question is, do I want to redo that lesson I just gave, or just make a separate video? I'll probably just make a separate video. I'll make a separate video this week. What I'll do, I'll make a separate video. Um, I'll just make a whole separate video post live about the whole lesson we just did 30 minutes ago on news. But if you guys want to, you can rewatch post live and just wait for that drop, because I'll probably have it ready Friday. But yeah, my goal is to I want to go live for like 4 hours. Like the first 2 hours I want to do YouTube, and then the other 2 hours I want to do like TikTok or something, because I know a lot of people are struggling in like the TikTok space. A lot of people, or much younger audiences, are trying to get into future trading. And I think being experienced in the game for like 4 years now, and making that transition, it wasn't too difficult. All the same systems are, it still applies to futures. It's just a little different when it comes to time frames and understanding contracts and the tick size and all that stuff. And then, of course, you have your news sites that went over. Mic check, mic check. All right, what's up, guys? If you're watching this post stream, I'm gonna end it here. This was just a introduction, a test run, but I will be live every day from Monday to Thursday, 6 o'clock a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, and then I'm cutting the live stream and heading straight to TikTok at Smart Money Ace from 9:30 to 11, and we're strictly gonna be talking about futures. But this was a quick live stream, went over news, why it's important, and how to correlate that information to future contracts. I will make a video this weekend, and I should be posting it Saturday. But before that video, I want to make a video of why I made that transition in the first place. So if you guys are watching this post stream, I appreciate you for watching. Take care. Have a nice and safe trading week. Rinse, repeat, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. All right, let me cut this real quick. Entry, stop recording.